The Aggies, the Jazz, the high schools. If it's the sport you care about, we're talking about it. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Good afternoon, everybody. Eric Frandsen, Ajay, Salvesen, here on a Monday. Hope you had a good weekend. Good to get back into the swing of things for the start of a new week. I had some time off last week. Thank you, Ajay, for holding down the fort while I was away. As I came into the studio today, it looked like most everything was back where it needed to be. Nothing was too out of place.
Back where it needed to be.
Buttons seemed to work, so they weren't broken. So it looks like you had a good time. Well,
I missed you.
It's good.
Oh, I missed you too, Ajay. I know. I really didn't miss you. I missed you too. It's good. It was a good week. We had some great interviews, but glad to have you back. And you picked a good day to come back too. Plenty of sportsing talk to get through. So, how's the Kokomo's? I know you make a regular trip down there often.
The what?
The Kokomo's.
What are the Kokomo's?
The islands, the one that the Beach Boys sing about.
I wouldn't know.
Yes, you would.
No.
Don't be modest.
Didn't go there.
Yeah.
I went right into the fiery furnace of Phoenix, Arizona. 111 degrees with wind. It was like a blow dryer on you the whole time. Crazy.
Oh, man.
But it was good. It's good to get away for a minute.
Good. Welcome back. Good to have you back. And again, you picked a good day to come back. You know, NBA has now set out their schedule, and it's listed out for us. Some early morning games for the Utah Jazz. It's going to be kind of an interesting turn for us. And only one really late night game. Everything else is pretty good on time. And then, of course, the MLB is getting back into spring training. When are they back in spring training? This week? Friday? No, Wednesday, I think. I can't remember. July 1st or 3rd. But baseball's coming back, so that'll be nice to have.
Yes, baseball is coming back. They're making plans for the players are expected to vote to agree to the 60 games, though we're hearing today, just heard, there's some players that are the debate has shifted from how many games will be played to if games should be played, not because of financial reasons, because this coronavirus is still going up. It's not going down. It's not plateauing in very many places. And so we're hearing more and more reports of staffers, players themselves, others within organizations who are testing positive. And so the real questions continue. And this is a real question for the NBA right now as well, is, at what point do you have to isolate an entire team? And then at what point do you have to shut the whole thing down? Because the NBA, they're going to be all isolated together. While that may be a good thing to keep the virus out, but once it's brought in, can you successfully isolate that one player or a few staffers? But what if it starts to spread because everybody's in close quarters? That's a real problem. So those questions have not been answered. The NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL, none of them have come out and said, if we reach this threshold, we have to shut it down.
Yeah.
Nobody's come out to say that.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you something. Dip Crap Doug Gottlieb, who does the show Dip Crap Doug every weekday, Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Just sucks. He talked about how the
our lead in. Okay.
Yeah. Before you get to the good stuff, which is us. What are your thoughts on him calling out players who are saying that they're going to sit out for family members? He talked about how the full family thing is just a bullcrap excuse.
So he's calling out Avery Bradley?
Yeah. He's calling out Trevor Ariza, Avery Bradley, excuse me. He called out some baseball players for that exact same reason, saying, no, it has nothing to do with family. It's you trying to make a statement about yourself. Agree or disagree with that?
I really disagree with that.
Yeah.
I know there are a wide variety of opinions about the coronavirus. Some are like, don't go out of your house, even now, or if you do, you got to be masks on and gloves, and you expect everyone else to have masks on.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't, you're going to go chew them out. To the other side of the spectrum, where people are like, they're calling it a scam-demic. This is not a big deal. This is a big hoax. It's not a problem. It's not really a problem that people aren't really dying from this at the same rate as other common flus. It's not that big a deal. And then there's people in the middle, in between that spectrum. But who am I to say that if you feel like your family is at risk, who am I to publicly shame you or make fun of you because you have that feeling or you have that fear? Because you look at the science, yes, there are people who are at risk. And if you bring something home to those people who are at risk and they get sick, and heaven forbid, if they die, can you imagine the guilt?
Yeah, you're looking at a worse problem than, yeah. I'm with you.
I think it's silly if somebody feels strongly that, you know what, I've got family members that are immunocompromised or at the high risk category. If they get this thing, it's going to be really bad for them. And I would be the one out there potentially exposing them to that. I can't fault them for feeling like that. So I think it's disappointing if anybody's out there shaming other people that way.
Yeah, well, Dip Crap Doug on his show called Dip Crap Doug that falls just before, I guess it's just before us, went out there and did that, and it bugged me. It really did. I don't think Ariz is out there trying to make a political statement. I think Ariza does care about his family, like you said. I think they just had a newborn, or it wasn't too long ago, like a 4-month-old kid, and he just doesn't want to go out there and risk anything. Coming back from Florida, I don't blame him. I really don't blame him for not going. I don't blame players for not going if it's with family reasoning. Like you said, kids or mom or dad, and if you bring anything back and it affects them, there's a bigger problem than not winning an NBA championship. We're talking about family here and their health on the line. I
also think there needs to be some thought about, are these guys, are their families going to be with them while they're in these environments?
Yeah, it's true.
Are these vulnerable populations going to be with them while they're in the bubble? Or can they just say, look, I'm going to go do this. I got to leave for a little while. I'm going to be isolated with this group. You're going to be safe here. We can do this. We can, I can still get paid. We can still do some things to get you taken care of. You don't need to be in the middle of all this.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree with you on that. Because if you do get to the second round, right, because families are allowed to enter in after the first round. So if that's the case, then you're bringing your family into it. And I just feel like that's a bigger risk than anything. I think you keep fans out of it completely. You leave the family out of it, and you just play in empty arenas. That way you're not risking more people's lives.
Yeah, but you know what? It's easy for you and I to sit here and say, just leave your family behind.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they're going to be stuck in a place where they can't get out of. They shouldn't be leaving, and they're not going to have their family or their support system around them. That'd be really hard. There's a real mental health aspect to this, that having family or at least those close confidants with you means a lot. So, yeah, it's a tricky thing, very, very difficult thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, for the Portland Trailblazers, they won't have Trevor Ariza, but they do have some other big guys who they haven't had coming back because they've had injuries, but now, because of the delay and how much time has passed, they are going to be available for the Portland Trailblazers. So the Trailblazers, not that big of a difference for them, but it is a difference for the LA Lakers. So they're looking at potentially bringing on J.R. Smith. That's the news today.
What? Every time I think of J.R. Smith and LeBron James playing together, it's like those two friends who, they're friends, but they annoy the crap out of each other, right? J.R. Smith has these moments where you don't know what he's been doing that day, but and you don't know what's going through his brain when he does stuff on the court. But then there's times where he shines. Like there's times when he hits 8, 9 3-pointers in the game, and you're like, heck yeah, JR. And then there's times where you have a timeout left in the NBA Finals, and you get the rebound, and you're like, let me dribble out
no
4 or 5
awareness.
seconds of this clock here while we're down by 1. So there's. But I think honestly, JR's a great fit for the LA Lakers. I think he's a better fit than Danny Green for LA, and I think you might see him get some more minutes over Danny Green.
Really?
Yeah. Look,
I think Danny Green gives you a little more defense.
I don't think Danny Green's a smart basketball player. Now I know. We're talking about we're talking about J.R. Smith here with that. I know that.
Who are you comparing him to?
I get it, but Danny Green makes so many dumb mental mistakes. Like JR's made a couple. One of them being the NBA Finals. Yes, I get it, on national television in front of the world to see. But Danny Green constantly makes stupid mistakes, even when he was playing for the Raptors, but it was covered up by Fred VanVleet, Kyle Lowry, Kawhi Leonard. Those mistakes were covered up. When he was playing for San Antonio, they were covered up by Kawhi Leonard, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Boris Diaw. Like, they were covered up. And Patty Mills, and really, I guess to an extent, they're kind of covered up during the season with LeBron and Anthony being there, but not as much because on the perimeter, you don't have a ton of help. Alex Caruso is a okay ball player, but he's not Manu or Tony Parker or Kyle Lowry. And so when he makes dumb mistakes, they're going to actually expose the Lakers even more, and it's going to put them in a hole. And Danny Green makes a lot more mistakes than he makes good decisions. I'd rather have JR and his shooting on the court than Danny Green.
Wow. I can't agree with you on that one.
Why do you like Danny Green, if I can ask?
Well, I think that he's a little bit younger, a little more athletic.
Yeah.
I actually don't think he makes that many bad mistakes.
But they're covered up, so you don't even notice, though.
I think J.R. Smith he's a momentum guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's if he's feeling it,
streaky.
He's great to have on your team.
Absolutely.
If he's not, man, he does not even belong on the bench. He's just sucking up air. So I think you go with what's a little more consistent. You know what you can rely on. You know what you're going to get with Danny Green. You don't know what you're going to get with J.R. Smith. But what I'm wondering is, do the Jazz go a similar route? And we haven't heard anything about the Jazz trying to find a replacement for Bojan. Is that because they feel like they don't need one? They're going to be okay without him?
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting question. And I think you bring up a great point. I think they need to go get somebody. They need to go find a shooter of some sort. And as crazy as it sounds, JR actually would have been the right guy for that. Because you don't really need him to play that much defense. You need him to be able to shoot from the corner and spread the floor. That's what you're really looking for. And you're right. He's streaky as all get out, no doubt. But man, when he's on, it is tough. Like, you could have a hand in his grill and he's still going to find a way to put it in. It's incredible. And the Jazz need somebody like that to spread the floor. Because without Bojan, they don't have that guy. Nobody spreads the floor.
Okay, so I posed this question on Twitter, and if you were on the Twitter, you can vote on this. I put out a poll question.
I got to get this.
Who needs to step up the most for the Utah Jazz during the restart? And parentheses, mostly due to the absence of Bojan Bogdanovic.
Ooh, I like this list.
So here are the selections. Mike Conley, Joe Ingles, Jordan Clarkson, Royce O'Neal. Now, I purposely did not put Donovan Mitchell on this list because he's already going to play at a high level. We expect him to play at a high level, and he's going to amp it up. But these are the guys that potentially could fill some of that time and that role and that significance that is lost from Bojan and his injury. So, again, the choices are Mike Conley, Joe Ingles, Jordan Clarkson, Royce O'Neal, who will need to step up the most. And I just put this up here, 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes ago. 73% of the votes already say Mike Conley. Nobody has voted. Nobody has voted for Royce O'Neal yet.
See, I'm putting in Jordan Clarkson. That's who I voted for. Jordan Clarkson, I mean, they need some scoring coming off the bench so badly without Bogdanovic. And I think Jordan Clarkson's got to be that guy. Royce O'Neal hasn't got a vote yet, man?
Yeah,
I'm shocked.
I am shocked.
You are thrilled if you're Royce right now, by the way. You are just ecstatic. You have to do jack. It's all on Mike Conley. I'd like to know from our listeners who you think needs to step up. 435-339-0321 to text in, or 435-752-1069 to call in. I'm with you. You know, who needs to step up the most for the Utah Jazz during the restart, as you asked, mostly due to the absence of Bojan? Mike, Ingles, Clarkson, or O'Neal? And Conley, it's not even close.
Or is there another option that I didn't include?
Yeah. Is there, by the way, if there was another option that someone else thought of that you didn't put on the list, who would that be for you?
Sorry, ask that one more time.
So, besides the 4 guys on the list,
yeah,
if someone were to say, you know what, there's someone else that needs to step up, who would that guy be?
The only other one that I might consider, in addition to those, would probably be George Niang.
Oh, that's a good one.
Similar body build,
one.
Similar opportunity to stretch the floor, can go into the paint. So it kind of plays a similar position as Bojan, but not nearly as talented. But that's another guy that maybe could step up. But I just saw of those 4, I just think they probably have a greater chance of playing a more significant role because of Bojan's absence. But I don't know. I could be wrong. I'd love to hear any other thoughts or suggestions.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from, again, on Twitter at Frandsen, or text in at 339-0321, area code 435. Who's the guy that needs to step up the most? Besides, I mean, you got Donovan and Rudy. We're going to put them aside. Without Bojan Bogdanovic, who needs to step up the most? Man, I really think Jordan Clarkson needs to be big now, coming off the bench. Because that's just so much scoring they lose, Eric. It sucks, man. The closer we get, the more nervous I am to not have Bogdanovic on the court.
So with that knowledge, now we know Bojan is not going to be available. We know somebody's going to need to step up and fill that void. Maybe not just one guy. Maybe that's spread around a couple of different guys who all step up. But we know the Jazz schedule now. Let's get into that for just a moment.
Okay.
The Jazz released this, when was this, Friday night?
Yep, it was Friday night at 5 o'clock. Before you get to that, here was originally the Jazz next 8 games on the schedule. Originally, Thunder, Pelicans, Grizzlies, Lakers twice, Spurs twice, and then the Mavericks. Keep that in mind. Go ahead.
So those were the teams that were
originally
teams that were going to be invited to Orlando. Any team that was not going to be invited to Orlando
was not on that
list. They would have skipped over. So what the actual schedule is going to look like, they will open against New Orleans on Thursday, July 30th. They'll be one of the first games played. Now, they will be the first game played, actually. That'll be 4:30 our time on TNT.
That cuts into us. Happily, we step aside.
Yes. Then the Jazz play 2 days later against Oklahoma City, 2 days later against the Lakers, 2 days later against Memphis, 2 days later against San Antonio, and then their one and only back-to-back game is they go Friday against San Antonio and then Saturday against Denver, 2 days later against Dallas, and then 3 days later against San Antonio. So they have San Antonio on there twice, Memphis and New Orleans. Those are all teams that are below the pack, fighting to even make the playoffs.
And you only have the Lakers once.
Right, they only play an elite team once time.
Well, did you put the Nuggets on that list as an elite team or no?
I consider an elite team like the top 4 overall.
In the NBA as a whole.
NBA.
Okay, so Milwaukee, Clippers, Lakers. Gotcha. I got you. By the way, times for those games, as you were just mentioned, 4:30 for the Pelicans. So July 30th, we have no show. Season 3 will start on July 31st. August 1st, game against Thunder is at 1:30. 7 against the Lakers. 12:30. These are all Mountain Time, by the way. 12:30 against the Grizzlies. 11 a.m. versus the Spurs. 1:30 p.m. versus the Nuggets. 1 p.m. versus the Mavs. And then a to-be-determined game versus the Spurs. So, Eric, only one evening game that whole entire schedule, 7 o'clock versus the Lakers on ESPN. And only 3 games, are going to be on the AT&T Sports Network. That'd be Grizzlies, Spurs, and Spurs again. Everything else is televised on national television. How about the Zion effect? Third most games out of all the teams are going to be nationally televised. Third most. The Zion Williamson effect, man. How about that?
What do you mean?
So
for the Pelicans?
Yeah, the Pelicans are the third highest team to have national television games during this restart.
Okay, so that's interesting. The other interesting part of this, the folks over at The Athletic, they put together a kind of a scoring system of each NBA team.
Ooh.
And how difficult their 8-game schedule is.
Okay.
And guess who has the easiest schedule? The New Orleans Pelicans.
Really? Can I guess the hardest? Do they have the hardest on there?
Yes.
I'm going to say the Grizzlies got absolutely screwed over.
No, actually, it was the Miami Heat.
No way. Oh, no way.
Right. If the way that they scored it, and they scored it, they had a couple different categories. Washington Wizards. If you played the Washington Wizards, that's like the easiest possible. They call that's worth 1 point. They call the See You Soon 7. The other 7 teams that are fighting for a playoff spot. Then they have New Orleans. That's worth 2 points. New Orleans is worth 2.5 if you play them. Then they call it the Elite 8. The Jazz are among that group. And then they have the Fab 5, the top 5 teams in the NBA, and they're worth 4 points. So the Jazz, their score was 21.5. New Orleans was 18. Miami was 26.
Okay, so
significantly more difficult than New Orleans.
Okay, so let's look at this really quickly. The Grizzlies schedule. Portland, Spurs, Pelicans, Jazz, Thunder, Raptors, Celtics, Milwaukee. They got the Raptors, Celtics, and Milwaukee to close the dang restart. The Heat have Denver, Toronto, Boston, Milwaukee, Phoenix, Indiana, Oklahoma City, Indiana. Yeah, you're right. Actually, maybe the Heat do have a harder schedule. Memphis is not a cakewalk, but I think you're right. I think Miami does have the hardest schedule.
Memphis was scored at a 24.5.
Oof.
Lakers and Nuggets, by the way, at a 25 each.
Do you have
they had the hardest schedules in the West.
Bad question to ask you. Do you have the standings right there by chance or no?
I do.
Okay, give me where do the Heat sit right now in the Eastern Conference?
Miami Heat are number 4. They are 2.5 games behind Boston, 2 games ahead of Indiana.
Oh my gosh! So those 2 out of 3 final games there at the end of the restart is going to be huge because they play Indiana. And where does Memphis sit?
Memphis is currently in the 8th position in the West. So they are 7 games behind Dallas.
Okay, they're out of that.
And they are 3.5 games ahead of Portland, New Orleans, and Sacramento.
And Portland's got the easiest schedule.
4 games ahead of San
Pelicans,
Antonio.
you said.
Pelicans have the easiest schedule.
Portland's got a tough schedule, plus they don't have Trevor Ariza. And I know that's not a huge blitz on them.
Because you're going to have Nurkic back.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not a huge blitz on them because Trevor is just great for defense. Offense is very sporadic at best during these years. They got Memphis, Boston, Houston, Denver, Clippers, Sixers, Mavericks, and Nets out. So they're probably, really, they could win the first one and win the last one, and everything else in between's a loss. Because Boston, Houston, Denver, Clippers, Sixers, and Dallas. Oh, that's brutal.
By the way, you mentioned the Nets, Brooklyn
Yes.
Nets. Just within the last 20 minutes, Shams Charania at The Athletic reporting that Spencer Dinwiddie has tested positive for coronavirus.
So would he join him at the restart then?
If he does, he'll be delayed. Because the Jazz are supposed to fly to Orlando
on the 8th,
and
right?
start practicing on the 7th.
On the 7th, yeah, they're one of the first 6 or 8 teams.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. They start this week. Or I guess next week, excuse me. I'm kind of interested. I listened to a little bit of the Quinn Snyder audio on NBA.com of Quinn Snyder talking. And, of course, the questions were coming up of the political standpoint. When the team does get back to playing basketball, I'm going to be kind of interested to hear what he thinks of the lineup without Bogdanovic. Now, what do you do without that one really reliable shooter? Because Ingles is not reliable. Donovan's not reliable. Mike Conley is sure as heck not reliable. They got to find someone who can actually put the ball in the net at a consistent rate to put some pressure on the defense to spread the court, because that's what killed them against Houston last year when Crowder and everyone else was going 1 for 50.
Well, it may be by committee. It may be rotating a lot of different guys through there.
Does that work?
You get 5 or 6 points out of George Niang. You get
hopefully. I mean, what does Clarkson need?
12 points out of Jordan Clarkson.
Is that what you're asking
12 points
for him
out
to
of
average
Joe
in?
Ingles.
You're asking 12 out of Clarkson, hopefully as an average, right?
I think Clarkson can give you more than that.
You think he could? I hope.
But 12 points out of Royce O'Neal. I mean, I think it's by committee. I think he spread it around. I don't think there's one guy who just steps in and says, "Okay, I'm going to do what Bojan has done." I don't think the Jazz are built that way. I think it's going to be a couple different guys whose averages will be up a little bit, and cumulatively they make up the difference. If they want to have a chance in this and to hold their position at number 4, not lose ground, and maybe even move up to number 3, it's got to be by committee. But I agree with the people, how they're reacting to our poll. I think Mike Conley plays a larger role in that. He doesn't play anything close to the same position as Bojan, but he can help the rest of the team be better if he played at his most optimal.
Do you trust him as the point guard for the Utah Jazz here in this restart? I mean, I know. I
have a hard time.
Me too. The inconsistency of Mike Conley has killed the Jazz in so many games. I don't know what happened from his transition on the bus or the plane from Memphis to Utah, but something has snapped in him where he just has not been the same, and it's killed the Jazz in so many games. And I'm scared that it's going to do it again. They've got a decent schedule. We'll get into that in a little bit. They've got a decent schedule. But you're going to need to see a more consistent Mike Conley, or this Jazz team is going to find themselves in 6th, 7th place. Not that it really matters. There's no home court advantage. Tonight you're just playing to, find the best opponent that matches up with you. And that's another question. Do you think some teams will purposely lose games? Because, again, there's no home court advantage. Now it's just based on who you're matched up with. Lose a couple of games to try to get to that opponent that they want to say, hey, I want to avoid the Lakers in round 2. I'd rather play the Clippers in round 2.
I don't know if teams will purposely lose, but I think you will definitely see teams be selective of who they do and do not play from their rosters. In fact, we got some audio on that. We'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll give you our predictions with this 8 games that the Utah Jazz have.
I can't wait to hear yours.
How many games do you think they'll win? How many might they lose? And who needs to step up from the Utah Jazz to fill the role that will be lost with the Bojan Bogdanovic injury, and he'll be out. Plus, we do have some news about Major League Baseball. We'll get into that as well. Coming up on the Full Court Press.
The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Some of these teams at the top have built, cushions in the standings, and they don't have to fight for seeding or fight for playoff positioning, and they intend to use that, I believe. And this could end up, for some of the teams, it's going to be every game is going to be life and death. But for some of these teams, this is going to be like an 8-game preseason. So we're going to get some good matchups, but player availability is going to be a constant topic over that first 2.5 weeks.
That's Brian Windhorst talking about player availability, and he predicts that there will be numerous stars who will not play a full 8-game scheduled restart here, and that there may be several teams that say, you know what, our position is secure. We're not moving anywhere. We're not at threat of moving up or down. So let's just ease our way into the playoffs here. Let's not go crazy. Like the Lakers, they have a 5.5 game cushion over the Clippers. I think I'd be shocked if we saw LeBron James and Anthony Davis play all 8 games each.
Yeah. They'll sit out the probably the ones that are cakewalks for them. I mean, what do they? They've got Clippers, Toronto, Utah. I bet you they play in all 3 of those games. Thunder they won't. Houston they will. Indiana they probably won't. Denver they probably will. And Sacramento they probably won't, depending on where they're at by the time they get to Sacramento. And the Clippers are another team. I mean, they'll play against the Pelicans. Who knows? Phoenix I don't think they will. Dallas I don't think they will, to be honest. Portland, they probably won't. They could really rest their guys for 4 out of the 8 games and still come out spit-shined into the Western Conference playoffs.
Right. Just like preseason. It's just tune-ups. Let's get our legs underneath us. Let's not go crazy. And then when the playoffs are there, then we're a little more ready to go.
Hey, I wanted to ask you, with the schedules the way they look, Utah Jazz. Let's do it. Let's dance here. What do the Jazz look like after these 8 restart games? Pelicans, Thunder, Lakers, Memphis, Spurs, Denver, Mavericks, Spurs.
I debated this. I went back
so
and forth
excited to
on
listen
this.
to hear this from you. I haven't heard it yet.
Okay,
let's go. Pelicans
win.
So they're 1-0 going in. Thunder win. 2-0. Lakers loss. 2-1. Memphis win. 3-1. Spurs. I said loss.
I'm saying a loss on this one because it's on the front end of a back-to-back.
Yeah, okay. So 3-2. Denver win. 4-2. Dallas
win.
Me too. I'm not as confident, but I'm saying win. And San Antonio.
Sorry, I have Dallas as a loss.
Oh, you do?
I have San Antonio as a win.
See, and Dallas could potentially be a loss. Kristaps, Doncic are a problem when no Bojan Bogdanovic is on the court to play defense. He does so many things defensively too.
So I have the Jazz at 5-3.
I have the Jazz at 6-2. I think they beat Dallas. I think they split that Spurs series, and I think they lose to the Lakers. 5-3 or 6-2.
I'm really trying to be optimistic.
Okay,
because they easily could go 3-5 without Bojan.
Yeah.
And who knows what that chemistry is going to be like on the court after what happened in March.
So give me the latter. Give me the pessimistic side of it. What would you say that if you're pessimistic about it would be your win-losses on there? What games would they win? What games would they lose?
So if they can't figure out how to replace Bojan and kind of retool what life is like without Bojan, I think they only get wins over San Antonio and Memphis.
One more. Or they go 2-6.
Well, they play San Antonio
twice. Oh, so you have them sweeping San Antonio and getting them. So they lose.
Even then, I don't know. I mean, they lost to San Antonio before the season.
So they lose
disrupted.
to the Pelicans, though, too, huh?
Yeah, they really struggled against New Orleans.
What worries me about the Pelicans so much is the great shooting. And Zion underneath is a monster. Derek Favors has been really, really, really good for the Pelicans. JJ Redick's a great shooter. J. Holiday's a problem as well. That's a good basketball team that they're young, and if they can put it together for a stretch, which they can go on a run and make a run at this in this 8-game restart.
Well, I think the guy that gave the Jazz the most fits was, now his name is escaping me. He was with the Lakers before he came over.
Oh, Ingram.
Yeah, Brandon Ingram. Jazz could not stop him in one of their games just a few months back.
Yeah.
And so I think they've got a really, really difficult front court that makes it tough for the Jazz. Rudy can't guard all those guys. Between Ingram, Williamson, and Derek Favors, man, that's a tough matchup for Rudy Gobert to try to handle alone.
Yeah, and again, I think teams have figured out that Rudy can't drift to the free throw line and then try to recover as quick. It just isn't working. I mean, I think Houston kind of figured it out with Harden of going to the rim, making Rudy drift up, and then throwing a bounce pass underneath to whoever, whether it was Clint Capella, Gordon got a couple of easy ones. Just stuff like that. If they make Rudy have to move outside the comfort zone, they're going to be in trouble.
Well, and who are they going to play at the 4?
Yeah.
That's what really concerns me.
What
and
is
in a matchup against New Orleans particularly? Who would the Jazz play at the 4?
What does your starting lineup look like right now?
I think you have Mike Conley, Donovan, Joe, and Royce. And then
Rudy. Man, there is no depth on that bench, is there? Oh. Yep, that kills us. Yeah, that looks about right to me. That sounds about right to me. Man, That could kill us.
I mean, that's just the real challenge. Who plays the 4? Who plays the power forward position?
And there's no rumor or talk about what they're doing to replace Bojan, is there? There's nothing.
No, I've searched. I think they're just going to go with who they have.
Yeah, it's going to hurt them. Okay, so after the 8-game restart, Jazz finish where and have to play who in the first round?
That's a fair question.
What does your 8 look like?
Right now, the standings right now, the Jazz have a slim lead on that number 4 position. I don't think they catch Denver.
Me neither. No, they're not catching Denver.
Surpass them.
I'm with you on that.
But I think they easily could fall to that 6th spot. I think it's more likely they're either 4th or 5th. I think Houston's going to try to make a run to be in the 4 or 5 because they want to face the Lakers in the second round. And this, I don't know, this style of tournament, whatever you want to call this restart, may really benefit the Houston Rockets more than many other teams. But I mean, they're pretty common foes for the Jazz. Oklahoma City Thunder, Houston Rockets, seems like every time there's a playoffs, they got to go through those teams.
Yep, absolutely. It's when I look at the Lakers are going to capture the 1 spot. I don't think anyone even comes close to it. I think the Denver Nuggets and the Clippers swap spots. And I think the Clippers don't, not because they lose games with their roster, but because Kawhi and Paul George sit. I mean, I really think they sit at 4 games. They play half. And they say, you know what? 2 or 3, it doesn't matter. We're still going to beat whoever's at that 7-6 position. I think they're going to be that confident. I think the Jazz slip a spot to 5, and Houston gets to 4. And the Oklahoma City Thunder drop to 6. And then Mavericks and Memphis, I don't know if anybody catches those 2 teams. I think Memphis does okay. I mean, even if they go 0-8, Sacramento or New Orleans or Portland have got to have good, really good runs here. And in 8 games to do that with the schedules they've been given, not an easy task. I think Memphis, even if they were to go 0-8, go 1-7, they're still in at the 8 spot.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most intriguing.
Yes,
is what happens to that
absolutely.
8th position.
Absolutely.
Everything else, maybe some changes in positions because right now 4, 5, and 6 in the West is super, super tight.
Oh yeah.
So there's going to be some movement there. But yeah, I agree. I think that Memphis and who's going to try to knock them off. I think New Orleans is best positioned to do that. But I think that's what's going to be one of the more intriguing aspects of this 8 games that take place. But as we mentioned, Houston is a really intriguing team in this format. Jay Williams, he's made some comments where he really thinks that they are trying to get into position to face the Lakers, the best possible scenario for them in the second round if they can get there.
I think their style of play really throws people off. And let's remember, guys, this is not home or away. I think this style of basketball is going to be more similar to pickup style basketball. And as long as that guys like PJ Tucker are finally healthy, you talk about Eric Gordon, can he be healthy and can he play? But if I'm Houston, I am trying to mirror and be in that bracket with the Lakers. So the Lakers number 1 seed, I'm trying to be in that 4 or 5 range so I can be partnered with them because I think that is the matchup they want to see in the Western Conference semifinals. I don't think they want to see the Clippers into the finals because of their wings and the way they can match up. But a bigger Laker team where you can involve them in a ton of PNR and James Harden and Russell Westbrook could get hot, that could be the matchup that you're looking for if you're the Rockets.
That's interesting.
Of course, they have to make it to the semifinals first.
Yeah, I'm with you. Still, huh?
I don't know. I kind of feel like the Rockets experiment, teams were starting to figure them out a little bit. How to defend them and how to attack them a little bit more. Granted, one of those teams was not necessarily the Jazz, though they did win in Houston, thanks to a end of game buzzer beater by Bojan Bogdanovic. But I feel like teams maybe figuring out how to play against Houston a little bit better. But he's right. If with no fans in the stands, it's going to feel very different. It's going to be in a small gym. It's going to have a very different feel, and that may benefit a team like Houston and how they play. So it'll be up to who's going to be the most disciplined, who's going to do run their stuff and be true to their identity? Who's going to try to change their identity just because of this format?
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think if anybody, Houston's kind of got the biggest eyeball on that because they did give away Clint Capella. They play small ball now. It's going to kill them. It's going to absolutely, honestly, New Orleans could beat them because of that alone. Derek Favors and Zion Williamson would eat that small ball lineup alive. Why? Because Zion is athletic enough to play small ball while being a big guy.
Well, they give themselves multiple possessions with offensive rebounds.
Yeah. And that wears out a team in so many ways. If you give up an offensive rebound and then a bucket with it, it just kills you. And I think Houston's the one that's going to really end up paying for that. Hey,
one of the other things about this NBA restart is this opportunity that NBA players may have to change the name on their jerseys to highlight social causes. We know that was one of the things that was a real concern among NBA players, is that they were hesitant to return to play because of there were some social discussions that were going on, very important, that they didn't want to feel like they were going to create a distraction away from that. They still wanted to be involved in some social change that was important to them. And a lot of players, more than not, saying, look, this will be an opportunity for us to continue this discussion and this dialogue, and this will give us a platform to do that. And one of those that's being discussed is giving players an opportunity to change the name on their jersey to be the name of George Floyd or somebody else that has had some problems because of social inequality. And Jay Williams, again, kind of weighing in on this. Is that really a good idea or not?
I like the idea overall, but at the same time, some of the NBA, just to play devil's advocate against it for a second, hear me out on this. And Perk, I'm curious to get your opinion. So, some of the NBA names and players have some of the most recognizable faces there is in the planet, in the world. And so it's not natural for people always to look at the names on the back of their jerseys. When you see Giannis running down the floor, you know that's Giannis. When you see LeBron, you know that's LeBron, James Harden. So I like the idea of changing some of the names on the back of jerseys to a degree, but can you take it potentially a step further? Can you call a player that person's name? Over the PA announcement when they score a bucket? Are there other ways to bring way more attention than just having their name on the back of a jersey that a lot of times fans may not pay attention to?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand his point. Like, here's the thing is, it's Kevin Durant or it's Donovan Mitchell, but instead of Mitchell on the back of his jersey, it's, Black Lives Matter or whatever it is. I think there's a different way to do it.
Is it for? Well, I guess my other question is: Is it for all social causes, or only specific to the current movement that we're experiencing with Black Lives Matter?
Yeah, it's a good question, man. Well, and look,
because what if players like somewhere in Serbia, there's something going on there, or
and here's the thing: is
Chechnya, or
aren't we getting back to basketball to focus on basketball? Like, I get like the whole political statement thing, but we can never stop doing that, right? Raising our voices, sharing information, and helping lift this country to be better. But doing it during a basketball game just seems weird to me. Is that selfish to say? I'd rather see Mitchell on the back of Donovan Mitchell's jersey than Black Lives Matter. Like, we can have those signs posted around, maybe as billboards around the court. You could have it,
or an armband, or
written on your shoe, or even just like a warm up. Right? You have it on your warm up. That's your statement right there. That is your warm up. But during a basketball game, let's focus on we get a chance for how many days to take our minds off of all the stuff that's been going on. And a chance to just breathe a little bit of freshness.
Yeah, but I guess that's the point of these NBA players. They don't want you to be distracted from this movement. They want to continue the dialogue and the awareness, and they don't want it to be a distraction. They want to be part of the cause to help further the change and things that are going on to improve things, not to step away and forget about it for a moment.
Well, in that case, because Fred Van Fleet came out and said that it sucks that he had to make the choice to play, that they shouldn't be playing, but he'll do it anyways. He went on to say, quote, life goes on. We're all young black guys. None of us want to give any money back. I don't think that we should. I think that money can be used in a number of different ways. This is not going to end this summer, regardless, over the next couple of months. This issue of racial injustice, social injustice, police brutality, all these things are not ending anytime soon. Our fight was long-term. That was part of my decision, end quote. But if that's the case, maybe we shouldn't be playing right now then. Because and like I said, these guys have a voice. They have a podium where they can say what they want to say, and it echoes and reverberates everywhere around the country because of who they are. If that is the problem, we probably need to focus on that then.
Yeah, but I think that the head people, the Players Association, have communicated this well, that your opportunity to speak out or to make a statement will be greater in playing the game than if you were not playing the game.
Yeah.
All right, coming up next here in the Full Court Press, Major League Baseball, NFL. We've got news about the Patriots. Good news, bad news, or it could be bad news, depending on how you want to look at it. How they're in the news. And Major League Baseball getting ready for their start as well. Coming up next here in the Full Court Press.
The Aggies, the Jazz, the high schools, the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
And the NFL just did its job by the evidence. It had no choice in this particular situation but to hand down the penalties it did against the Patriots on Sunday night. Third-round draft pick, $1.1 million in fines, and the Patriots TV production crew can't videotape games in the upcoming season.
Eric Frandsen and Ajay Salvesen, the NFL coming down on the Patriots for something that was non-football related. That's the Patriots' claim, is that it was a production crew.
It was filmed for a documentary that, like, Bill Belichick really had no. It was like from Kraft Productions, so Bill Belichick had nothing to do with it. But of course, Roger Goodell has this bitter, like, hatred for New England.
Right? They have a cloud of suspicion around them always.
Okay, but we're filming for a stupid documentary or something like that of some video guy for whatever dumb reason by Robert Kraft. See, it was Robert Kraft who really screwed up this time. It wasn't the Patriots. It was Robert Kraft. That guy just...
Did Robert Kraft screw up also with signing Cam Newton?
Is that a screw-up? Signing an MVP from just a few years ago who needed a new offense and maybe new brain and fresher mind?
He needs new legs and needs a new shoulder, too.
I think the legs are there. The shoulder might be a problem.
I think he's okay to sign as a backup.
Yeah. Well, and just remember, it's a 1-year deal. There's no harm in this. It's a 1-year deal. Look, we get you, we use you when we need to, or we start you if we need to.
How much does the Patriot offense change now that Tom Brady is gone?
It depends. It depends for a couple of reasons. One, because Jared Stidham ran in that same offense last year in preseason and was very, very good in preseason. I know that's only 4 games of being able to look at him, but in 4 games, he actually looked all right. Cam Newton is not a guy who stands in the pocket and can make a throw. He doesn't have the ability to, like Tom Brady, ignore every bullet coming at him and still stare down a receiver running a 10-yard deep route in and put it on the money. That was one of Tom Brady's specialties. Jared Stidham could be that guy. Cam Newton's someone different. He's got to be able to be mobile with the legs and whatnot and create on his own.
Dan Orlovsky says that Cam Newton poses a threat to the entire AFC.
Oh,
but if he's healthy, this is a problem for the AFC because now the Patriots certainly have somebody at the quarterback position that's got experience, that's got talent, and in a way that Josh McDaniels probably has never had, both in the run game and the multiplicity they can do with that scheme.
Okay, Dan, change your diaper. Relax, dude. Calm down. Is it an interesting signing? Sure. But don't put out this baloney that the whole entire AFC needs to watch out. The Chiefs would like to talk to you. The Bills are really good this year. The Bills have improved dramatically. Miami's actually a little bit better too. Don't give me this AFC needs to watch out. No, don't. Just shut it.
Hey, the last minute we have here on the show, Major League Baseball, it looks like they are moving forward. They're going to agree to a 60-game season. But here's the problem. They're not doing it in a bubble. They're doing it all at their home fields. And Canada has basically said, if you're non-essential, you can't come into our country. So what happens with the Toronto Blue Jays?
Oh, I don't know. Can they find... So wait, time out. Are they not allowed to come into North America? What's the rule then, Eric? Are they allowed to come and play or no? They just need to find a place to play?
They're trying to classify Major League teams as essential.
Well, yeah, it is.
Or somehow get a waiver to allow teams to come into Toronto to play games.
Oh, no. Toronto just needs to go to the AAA stadium and play there. Just go to a AAA stadium and play there in America. People don't need to come there. Come on, adjust here, Blue Jays. Just go to a AAA stadium, wherever it's at, and play there. If you're in the AL East, go play in the AL East. They have stadiums there for you. You don't... God, no. No one needs to go to freaking Toronto.
Well, Major League Baseball is going to have kind of a spring training that will be starting here soon, and then start playing at the end of July. That's what they're expected to do. I'm happy at least they're making some progress.
I am too. I can't wait.